Good morning, good morning, good morning. My name is LouAnn and welcome to my kitchen. The coffee's a brewing and you know there is some sweet iced tea in that ice box. And the noise you heard a while ago, that's the bread machine going. I'm making 2 bread recipes today. Yeah, I'm being overproductive. So anyway, I am going to be making breadsticks. I have never ever made breadsticks, and of course this recipe is part of Fall Into Baking, and it's also going to be out of the featured cookbook today. So let me turn the camera around, let me show you, and I am sort of kind of dividing part of this in half, part of it not. So let's turn the camera around. So in my little measuring cup here, I have 1/4 cup of water, give or take. I'm going to add 1 package of yeast. And if you're using bulk, that is 2.5. At least that's mine. We're going to add a little bit of our sugar here to feed our yeast. And of course, I'm going to mix it up here a little bit to let it start blooming. And then we're going to set this aside for 10 minutes. Probably a little bit more than that, actuality. So, put my little timer going here. Okay. So while we're waiting for our yeast, I got some water in here. And like I said, I divided it in some oil. I'm going to add my salt and the rest of the sugar to this. And we're going to let this cook until the sugar and the salt dissolves. And then we're going to cool it down to lukewarm. Now the recipe calls for whole wheat flour. And I am going to beat in as much of this as I can. It does call for 2 cups of that. So we'll see how that goes before we have to put it on our floured board. So, make sure we got to beat this all in as much as we can. Now, I'm going to reuse this bowl and oil it and be able to rise it up. Make it rise. So, there is, I think that is 1 cup. So, let me get that all mixed in and get my flour, bread, whatever you want to call it. Now we just need to knead the dough, the rest of the flour into the dough. So I'm going to do that real quick. Am I a good kneader? I don't know. But I am going to try to knead as much of this rest of this wheat flour in here. And then we will be placing it in a well-oiled bowl and letting it rise before we do more with this dough. We want to, after we get all this flour kneaded in to our dough, we will be shaping it into a ball. So our bread has risen. Now we need to punch it down. And then I'm going to roll it out and put it out here. And we're going to divide it into 2. And then let it rest for 10 minutes. So now we let our dough rest for 10 minutes. I'm going to put 1 back in the bowl. And we're going to kind of square this off because we need to roll this out before we cut it in some more pieces. So I'm going to kind of put it in a square and roll it out. Well, a rectangle, more or less. And then roll it out. And then we're going to cut it into 24 pieces. Well, probably 12 pieces. And then we're going to do the same thing with the other one. But I'm going to show you what it looks like while we go. I got my pieces cut. I have no idea what my dogs are barking at out there. So on each piece, I'm going to move these over. We are going to be rolling each piece into a 8-inch, using both hands. I'm only using one. And then we will be placing it into a oiled pan, and we're going to cover it and let it rise again. So I'm going to do that with all this and with the other half, and I'll be right back. So I was supposed to put these 2 to 3 inches apart, but I'm not doing that today. I'm kind of trying an experiment here. I kind of rolled these out a little bit. These I did not. So we're going to cover these and let them rise before we bake. So stay tuned. So in a cup, I got a tablespoon of water and 1 egg yolk. I'm going to mix this up. Sorry about the noise. I do have my oven heating at 375. I'm going to brush all these lovely breadsticks with my egg white water mixture. I'm not very good at this, y'all. I try. Kind of. Then we're going to sprinkle on some sesame seeds. For the first pan, that's what I'm going to do. On the second pan, I'm going to do everything bagel seasoning. So we're going to bake this for 10 minutes at 375. And then after we baked it at 375 for 10 minutes, and I still need to sprinkle these on there, then we're going to reduce heat to 300. Is it 300? Yeah, at 300. And then we're going to bake it for another 20-25 minutes until they're nice and golden brown. And then we're going to dig in.